Why you can speak but cannot understand. Hi there. I bet you can speak your target language. Sort of, right? You've practiced. You can form sentences. You can express your ideas. You can go to a cafe in Paris, Madrid, or Tokyo and you confidently order your coffee. But the moment the native speaker replies at a natural speed, you're completely lost. It sounds alien to you, almost like someone is summoning a demon. So you go back to your safe zone and hop on a conversation with a tutor, and still you struggle following the conversation. One moment it's all clicking, and the next you're just nodding and smiling, wondering what in the world I just said and whether or not they noticed that lonely bead of sweat dripping down your forehead. Does that sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone, and it's not your fault. You're facing what I call the hidden fluency problem. Keep watching to figure out how to prevent this from happening ever again. My name is Luca Lampariello. I'm a language lover, coach, and entrepreneur, and I've been helping hundreds of thousands of people learn foreign languages more efficiently and in a fun way. Now, let me tell you that the I do not understand problem is maybe the most common one. Back in the day when I was learning English and French, it was not only a very big problem, but also one of my biggest fears. I always imagined the worst case scenario of getting lost in a conversation, thinking that if I did not understand something, I would literally explode and my soul would leave my body. That happened across basically all of my languages, but the difference now is that I know it's part of the process. It's inevitable and I just have to power through it. But you can do that the smart way or the not so smart way. I'm going to break down exactly why that happens and give you a 3-step system to train your ears to finally catch up with your mouth. The system is not about more drills. It's about a fundamental shift in how you approach learning. And because I want you to start right away, I put together a practical guide to get you started. It's a free toolkit with the exact drills I'm about to mention. You can find it in the pinned comment below. And now, let's get into it. So, let's play doctor. Before we find the cure, we need the right diagnosis. Why is your mouth writing checks that your ears cannot cash? Well, there are 3 main reasons. First, you've fallen into what I call the output first trap. Many learners, especially confident ones, focus almost exclusively on production. You practice speaking, you do language exchanges, you work on your accent. This is all great and it trains the production part of your brain. But here's the thing, the skill of producing language is neurologically different from the skill of decoding it. You've been training for a marathon, but you've only ever trained your arms. You need to train your legs, your listening muscles, separately and with the same dedication. The second reason is what I call the clean versus messy language problem. The language you're used to listening to in language learning materials is often slow, clear, and unnatural.
Hola, ¿este banco está libre?
Sí, claro, siéntate.
Gracias, hace calor aquí, ¿no?
That is not how native speakers actually speak. Native speech is messy by any stretch of the imagination.
Y esto es un programa en español. Si no hablas español, en la próxima palabra te largas. ¿Me entendiste? Y no hablas español, te largas.
Sí, señora.
It is packed with slang, reductions like gonna for going to, whatchamacallin instead of what is that called, just to name a couple of examples in American English. You've become fluent in textbook language, but you're still a beginner in real-world language, and that gap is where the confusion lives. And the third, and perhaps most important reason, is the listening skill illusion. We tend to think of listening as a passive skill, a skill that will just magically come with time. We think, if I just watch enough Netflix, if I just live in the country long enough, my brain will eventually absorb it. But I'm here to tell you that that is a myth, unfortunately. Listening is not passive. It's an active skill that requires specific focus training, just like speaking or learning grammar. You would not expect to play the piano but just by sitting in a concert hall, would you? You have to sit down and train your fingers. And the same is true for your lovely, oddly shaped ears. Don't worry, this training will not make you look like a creature from Avatar. Okay, so we have our diagnosis. What now? The cure begins not with a technique, but with a powerful mindset shift. You need to stop being a passive listener and become an active decoder. The biggest mistake learners make is thinking that more passive exposure is the answer. You put on a podcast while you're working or have a movie playing in the background, hoping for fluency through osmosis. This is highly inefficient. Why? Well, because your brain, unable to understand the messy audio, simply tunes it out as background noise. Your new job is to become a detective for sounds. You need to actively hunt for patterns. You need to deconstruct fast speech and train your brain to recognize all the messy parts of the language we talked about. This is the reframe. Listening is not something you just absorb. It's a skill you must train systematically. And when you make the shift, everything changes. So, how do you become an active decoder? Well, you follow this 3-step system. It's simple, it's effective, and it's how I've trained my own ears in over a dozen languages. Step 1, deconstruct with transcripts, the lab work. Your first step is what I call the lab work. This is your intensive training phase. Here's how to do it. Find a short audio or video clip about 5 to 7 minutes long that comes with a full transcript. Podcasts with transcripts or YouTube videos with accurate captions are perfect for this. The method is this. You play the audio and you read the transcript at the same time. Let me repeat that. Read and listen simultaneously. And no, this is not cheating. Your goal here is not to test your comprehension, it's to train it. Your main goal is to consume a lot of content by using the written language to understand the spoken language. You're building a bridge between the clean written language you know and the messy spoken language you want to understand. You're mapping the sounds to the words. The focus should be on consuming a lot of content that is interesting and comprehensible to you. And one more thing. Reading and listening at the same time forces you to focus, which is the most essential element of paying attention and retaining information. Step 2, listen to review. Just listening. Now, after you've deconstructed, say, 10 of these short audio clips in your lab, you move to step 2, review. You need to expose yourself to the spoken language as much as possible. So you take all that content you already deconstructed, the content you now fully understand, and you put it on a playlist. You will re-listen to this content randomly during the day. I used to do this for Hungarian and Greek during my dead time, while commuting, taking a shower, burying bodies, or walking to get a coffee in the morning. The goal is pure exposure to the spoken language while you do other things. Here's why this is so effective. Listening to new things you do not understand is boring and extremely discouraging, but re-listening to content you have already deconstructed creates a bridge. It's enjoyable, it builds confidence, and it hammers those messy sound patterns into your long-term memory. Do this for at least 15 minutes a day and see the magic happen. Step 3, extensive listening, the real world. After you spend a significant amount of time in steps 1 and 2, and I recommend at least 200 hours of this kind of focused listening, you can finally graduate to step 3, extensive listening, or the real world. Now, you can go back to just listening, but you're doing it with a trained ear and a new purpose. You can now put on the longer podcast, watch that TV show, or listen to audiobooks. The magic is that your brain, having been systematically trained through deconstruction and review, will now be much better equipped to pick up the words and patterns in the messy stream of native speech. What was once passive, inefficient exposure has become now a form of active reinforcement. You'll start having those aha moments where you effortlessly understand a sentence that would have flown right past you before. So the system is quite simple. Deconstruct, review, and then listen extensively. If you can speak but cannot understand, the reason is clear. You haven't systematically trained the skill of decoding. The solution is not more speaking practice. You need focused, active listening practice. This is the method that closes the gap between your speaking and listening skills. This is a system that turns confusion into clarity and frustration into confidence. To help you start your lab work immediately, I want you to have my guide. If you want a step-by-step walkthrough with the exact deconstruction skills I use with my students, do not forget to download my free guide, The Active Listener's Toolkit. The link is in the pinned comment below. Thanks for watching. And if you found this video helpful, you will probably love the video I made about the opposite problem, what to do when you can understand but cannot speak. Link to the video somewhere up here. Happy language learning, and I'll see you in the next one.